Anyway, so Linda came with a group of people, and I was saying at the end, gee, I have some thoughts going around in my head, and I would love to be able to have a space to talk about that. And when Adair heard it, she says, you have to come. You have to come. And Beth was there too. And she says, you have to come and talk about this. So really it was born out of the book, the Songs of the Trees, and beginning to think about what does it mean to have no words? Now, I will tell you right off the bat, I will cop to it, I love words. Every night before I go to bed, I do Wordle. I love words since I was a little child. I read the dictionary. I have just been enamored in what words do mean, convey. And I also love the silence and the solitude of just being outdoors in nature. And then there are some times, and I'm sure we've all experienced this, when there just are no words. There are no words to convey what you feel. There are no words for the joy, for the grief, for the sadness. There just aren't any words. And what do we reach to then? Today in the world, so many things go on, and I work very late in the pie shop, and I listen to the BBC, and I hear the news from around the world, and I have to prevent myself from crying into the pie. And there are no words. And then there will be something magnificent and joyful that will come on. And I'll think, okay, there's a breath of hope here. And then I think about us as UUs, because boy, we love words. I don't know what the word count up is so far, but we have a lot of words already in the service. Try to break them up with a little music here and there, but there are lots of words. And we live in a society where words are king. Words mean things. Sometimes your word means nothing, and we all understand how that happens as well. And where do we turn to for guidance and hope when we don't have any words, or when there's too many words and they unite us, they divide us? We understand how words can divide, how words can be hateful. We have another challenge right now going on where people are trying to change books to take out words. Roald Dahl, several of his books in the last week, people have said we need to change the book. We need to rewrite what he's written. And I stand firmly believing we do not need to do that. I think we need to teach ourselves how to think critically about the word, about what's written, and teach our children to do that. Because if we erase the words, we erase the culpability of the people who have written words, the context, the culture of those words and those times in which the words were written. So I'm not an advocate for doing away with words, reducing words, redacting words, changing words. I am an advocate for looking at how our words help each other, hurt each other, and how do we communicate when the words cause such breakdown that we can't see each other as human beings. And I think it is our common experience right now that words divide us. And if we are to look at how we are like the forest, where we are all interdependent, how is it that we can look past the words to see the humanity in every person? If we look at our principles, the seventh principle, now, and I'm not a historian on how the principles came to be. I was going to look that up, but I didn't have enough time. But I did look up on our website, the principle, on the UUA website, which is respect for the interdependent web of all existence, of which we are a part. And that sounds fairly, simple, respect for the interdependent web. And it's seeing us as interdependent. That might be a critical problem, but where we're liberal in thought. We think we see everything together as one big thing. What is interesting on the website is that the Reverend Forrest Gilmore from Bloomington, Indiana, has written a little piece about the principle. And he says, our seventh principle, which is respect for the interdependent web of all existence, is a glorious statement. Yet we make a profound mistake when we limit it to merely an environmental idea. It is so much more. It is our response to the great dangers of both individualism and oppression. It is our solution to the seeming conflict between the individual and the group. Our seventh principle may be our Unitarian Universalist way of coming to fully embrace something greater than ourselves. The interdependent web, expressed as spirit of life, ground of all being, oneness of all existence, the community forming power, the process of life, the creative force, even God, can help us develop that social understanding of ourselves that we and our culture so desperately need. It's a source of meaning to which we can dedicate our lives. That's quite an ideal, that we can find something to which we dedicate our lives. The problem for me with words in a church setting and also in our cultural setting is that words have been used historically to divide what is sacred and what is profane. And the meaning of profane is interesting to me. It's not just profanity, profane. When I was growing up, I grew up in a mainline church, in the Lutheran church, and we were told where you could find the sacred. The sacred was in the sacraments, the sacred was in baptism and in communion, and the sacred was words and elements. And the elements were there, but the words were what were important. The words were important. If you had the right words, it didn't matter who said them. That's where we could identify the sacred. And I was in the seminary, and I had to learn how to hold my hands the right way, because that was the sacred. It was very interesting to me. A part for me that was difficult for me was like, what does it matter? Does it really matter? And that's why I didn't pursue that career. But profane in the dictionary means things that are not concerned with religion or religious purposes, serving to debase or defile what is holy, not being among the initiated, and not possessing esoteric and expert knowledge. Profane is what separates us. Profane says you and I are not on the same playing field if we are not in the same religious thought process. We are different from each other, and so that's where profanity is. And sacredness is only in the context of the church, of whatever it is, the synagogue, the mosque. Thank you. The mosque. I'm getting old. And that's where the sacred is located. We love to put it in a place. But what if everything was sacred? There's a lovely hymn by Peter Mayer, Everything is Holy Now. Now, he used to have this little life going to church, and the priest would tell you what was sacred. But what's changed is everything is holy now. What if we lived our lives looking at the interdependence web of existence as everything is holy now? That person with whom we have an argument, a disagreement, where is it that we find what the Quakers say, the sacred light within? Where is it that we can identify that? And that is our job to do together. We cannot do that independently. I cannot walk up to each person and say, okay, I'm going to see this little light in you, and that's going to be your sacred spot. It's very hard, because then it's just a one-to-one relationship. How is it that we put that in the greater context? And I'm not sure. I don't know that there's an answer. But I want to encourage all of us to say the idea of sacred and profane, of identifying this is sacred and this is profane, needs to go. What we need to be able to do is say, if everything is sacred, how is it that we fit it in? How is it when we talk to the people who disagree with us? Where is it that we find the little tiny piece of something that is the common ground? I have many people who come into my shop each day. I don't know what their politics are. I don't know what they believe. I don't know if they think I'm a sinner because I'm a lesbian. I don't know what they think. But each person I greet, I look at them and I think to myself, I am looking at your sacred light. And I think if we begin at that basis, if we do what the trees have taught us, that we look at what's inside, and then we look at the connections. and not judge. I see you in a flak jacket, you must be in the army and I hate you. You must be this, I don't like that. We see a symbol and we just immediately say, that person can't connect to me. If we are the destroyers of the connection, then the connection will never happen. Sometimes we have to be the ones who initiate the connection. We look and we say, I see you as a sacred being. Within the context of the entire sacred universe. The entire universe is sacred, then how could a small, tiny particle of it not be sacred? If the energy of the universe is what powers holiness, how can there be a completely unholy place? Because there's no place without that energy. And it is not, I am not being Pollyanna-ish and saying this is a great, glorious world and everybody's going to be happy. But if we start from a place of that sacredness and everything, then we can acknowledge the wrongs of the past. Then we can say that I want to be forgiven for what I have done. Then we can say, I forgive you for what you have done. Then we can say, well, how do we move on in sacredness, ever growing and ever changing? How do we take the molecules of holiness and put them together in a new way? And I don't think that there's an answer. I think that it's a living. I don't think it's a word. I think that's how we be. And we take that out with us into wherever we go. And we connect to people however we are able. I used to, years ago, go and visit inmates at Menard Penitentiary, which is well over 100 years old, in southern Illinois, on the Mississippi, in a really hot place. And the inmates I used to go see were death row inmates. And we used to go to see them with the Coalition Against the Death Penalty to check basically on their mental health status. Because really and truly, they were being degraded and dehumanized in a way that the group of us who went to see them felt they shouldn't have been. And when I would go, people used to say to me, how do you do that? Those awful people. And first off, if I believed that they were only awful people and that they could never be, there was no redemption and no opportunity for change, I'm saying that about myself. Because if we're all the same, there is no opportunity then for me to be redeemed from whatever I've done that wasn't helpful, wrong, or right, what was wrong. And I used to say, I go and I just connect. I see a little spark of human being, and then we connect. And we did connect. And I didn't need to know about their crime. I knew some of them were absolutely heinous. And people say, don't you believe, what if somebody killed this person? I said, well, I would hope that my initial feeling of I want to get back at them could be tempered by the feeling and the wisdom of the community, of the group. The wisdom that said, we're going to pull together and help you to get through this. You can own your anger and your grief and your sadness, but we are not going to go down that path with you. We are going to say, every life is sacred. And that's the only way I could get through that, because I never read anybody's history, but I did know some of them from the papers and other things, and they were egregious crimes. And I have to rely on that experience today when I hear stories in the middle of the night that are just really awful going on around the world. And I want to fall into the anger and, besides the sorrow, just I got to get back at this. How am I going to get back? Where's the retaliation? Instead, I need to think how to find the humanity in those people. And if we all were able in some way, and even in some small way each day, to find the humanity in the next person, to find the beauty in the connections, to see a person as a person connected to us. Maybe it's fungus, I don't know. I don't know what connects us ultimately. Love and the energy of love and the holiness of the energy of the universe connects us. And my wish for us is that we could all, at times, find a space to look beyond the easy place of saving the forest, to look at saving us, saving humanity, saving the energy of love, and putting it back out in the universe. And that's what I want to leave you with today. How do we connect to the energy of the universe in its largest way? How do we see ourselves as agents of change, the possibility of change and creation? And if we can't get to that place, hum, sing, breathe, walk, enjoy the cool air, sit and look at a tree. Not only the tree, look at what the plants are next to it. Look at its branches. Look at the squirrel nests. I have no idea how they build them. I'm trying to find out because they hang on no matter what. Look at the environment and its wholeness, and look at all of us and our individual beauty and our wholeness, so that we don't become isolated and vindictive, that we begin to create even more and more holy and beautiful energy in the world. Amen and blessed be.